There is a story which was told to me by a brother of a good friend. There was a fellow who lived in Kfar Chabad. He passed away. He was very young. This is in the time of the Corona. Passed away. Anyway, I met his brother. This is, I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And this is in Russia. I went to first the first Rebbe's yard site, the Chavtal Tevis in Haditch. So I met him in Haditch. So he told me this story. What's the story? Story goes like this. He said his father, when he told me the story, this was like 7 years ago, and he said this happened like 50 years earlier, maybe even more. He was just a young boy, and his father used to take him to do mitzvahs. On Friday, he would go to a hospital and put the tefillin on people. There was one person in their synagogue that he was hospitalized, and they went to visit him, especially in his room, and they put the tefillin on him. While they were there, was brought into the room another old man. He was all these people were Holocaust survivors. This is talking about like in the 70s, the 60s maybe, right? So the 60s, that was like, 20 years after the Holocaust finished. So there was still a lot of Holocaust survivors. So they brought this older man in, and he had his two daughters were with him. And they got them all arranged in the bed. And they finished putting tefillin on the fellow, the Chabad guy. And they asked him, the new one, if the new guest, if he wanted to, the new patient, if he wanted to put on tefillin. And he opened up his mouth and started cursing them and cursing all the religious people with the worst, most filthy language, just, incredibly, and just personal curses that he was cursing them. So the daughters said, to the two rabbis, please, rabbis, don't take this to heart. My father went through the Holocaust, and he's very shaken up by it, and he's got a bad temper. And they said, no, don't worry, we're not taking it bad. We're just, we're sorry we made him feel bad. We don't, we just asked him if he wanted to put on the film. If he doesn't want to, it's okay. Anyway, every time they would go there, the old man, even they would just look at him and go, Right? One day they came on one Friday. It was in the winter. The days are short. So they came there to put the tefillin on their Chabad friend. And they came there, and the two daughters were standing in the door, and they were crying. So he said, what happened? He said, our father went into a deep coma. And the doctors say he only has a few hours to live. So they came and they said that the rabbi, his name was Rabbi Buket. The rabbi was the one who putting on tefillin. The Chabadnik that was putting on tefillin, Rabbi Buket. So Rabbi Buket said to the two daughters, according to Jewish law, we can put tefillin on him. Maybe, he wouldn't mind if we put tefillin on him. Maybe he wouldn't mind. And the two daughters say, is that okay with you? So the two daughters said, okay, we don't care, And they said, let's talk to the doctor. So they asked the doctor. The doctor said, so no problem. If he wants to put on tefillin, come on. So they put the tefillin on him. He was in a total coma. He was totally out. And they put the tefillin on him, and they saw that his lips were moving. And they listened, and he was saying Shema Yisrael. Totally out. And he was saying Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. So they took the tefillin out. The daughters, of course, cried and everything. And they had to rush back home. They rushed home. And they prepared themselves for Shabbat. They washed up and went to mikveh and everything. And they came. And that night, after prayer, they came back to home, and their telephone started to ring. On Shabbat, of course, they didn't answer it. Started to ring, and in the daytime also, the telephone rang. They didn't answer it. And Motzi Shabbat, after Shabbat finished, so the phone rang again, and they answered the phone. And the girl, on the other end of the line, was one of the daughters of this man that had put on tefillin. Daughters, and said, hello, Rabbi. Yes, we're one of the daughters of, Mr. whatever his name was, Mr. Groyce, the one they put tefillin on. Yes. He said, well, we want you to know that shortly after you left, about 2 hours afterwards, he passed away. And I'm just calling you to thank you for treating him so nicely, and also for, putting on your tefillins on him at the last moment. I'm sure that, deep in his soul, he would want that. And I want to invite you to the funeral. If you don't come, it's okay. So the funeral is going to be on Sunday at the house of, all faiths or something like that. There's a Reform rabbi, and he's going to give a speech. That's at 1:00. And at 2:00 is the cremation. And the rabbi said, one second, whoa, one minute. Your father's a Jew, right? So what we Jews do, we don't cremate. You want a place they're going to want to see, you want to visit your father's grave. If you cremate him, it's not. the girls said, listen, we were told, the Reform rabbi told us not to call you up because you would be against it. But we felt, our obligation. If you want to come, you can come. If not, then we're sorry. We've already paid for it. So he said, just one moment. Can you tell me what is your father's name? And what is his mother's name? And his father's, and your father's father and your father's mother's name in Hebrew. So they looked it up. They said his name. So they just wait here. So they called up the Rebbe. They called up the Rebbe's office or one of the Rebbe's secretaries. I don't exactly know how this happened, but they contacted the Rebbe, Lubavitcher Rebbe, and they told him, and they gave him all the message, the whole story. And the Rebbe gave back to them the message that this man is a direct descendant of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev. Now, how the Rebbe could possibly know this makes absolutely no sense. Because Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, he lived 250 years ago. And, and this man was totally not religious, had no, and the Rebbe said, this man is a direct descendant of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev. I will pay for the whole funeral. Convince them not to burn the body. I'll pay for the whole funeral, for the funeral and for the gravestone and for everything for the place. And the rabbi said, okay. They called up the lady and they said, can we come to your house? They said, sure. One of the daughters. They said, tell me, you're sure your father was Jewish? Did he ever say anything about his relatives? He said, oh, yes. They said he used to say that he was a direct descendant of this rabbi of Berdichev or Legichev or something like that. He used to tell him all the time. He said, well, listen, we want you to know that the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that he'll take all of the expenses on him. He'll pay you back for the money you paid for the cremation. And, what do you care what we do with your father? You want to burn him. So would you care if we, throw him in the garbage or anything? We want to give him an honorable Jewish burial. And we'll pay for the whole thing and we'll do the whole thing. And we'll have a million there of people and we'll have a gravestone. You'll have a place to go. She said, okay, but how am I going to do it? I've already talked to the Reform rabbi. He said, listen, you just give us the address of the place. We'll wait until the rabbi finishes his sermon, and then we'll take the body out to the hearse, and we'll do the burial. And that's what they did. They took the body out and they buried him. So the point of the story is, how could the Rebbe possibly know this man was a relative of Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, who Levi Yitzchak Berdichev was a tremendously holy person. He was a very good friend of the first Rebbe of Chabad. But we see that this man had, in his essence, the essence of his soul woke up, and that's why he said Shema Yisrael, even though that he was in a deep coma. Have a good day with Mashiach now. See you tomorrow, God willing.